Greetings, or perhaps I should say bonjour. This is Le Docteur Jimmy. Actually, French for Jimmy would be Jacques. I know you're thinking Jacques is Jack, but Jacques is actually the French form of James. Saint Jacques is Saint James. The coquille Saint Jacques being the scallops, and it's the same thing that Santiago. That's also Saint James. But let's not go on to that because that's getting silly. I could make another coincidence. Amongst other things, St. James is the patron saint of walkers. So isn't that fun? Not zombies, but you know, because of pilgrimages that you made to the shrine of Santiago in Spain. So he had to walk there. So my name is James Walker. Isn't that fun? Okay, get on with it. All right. So this is part 5. It's un, deux, trois, cat. I like the 4-letter 4 because it sounds like cat. It's actually Q-U-A-T-R-E, quatre, but it's often pronounced cat. And sunk. So this is part sunk. Why am I speaking the French? Because the house I left off with in the previous video was Gothic, or perhaps Gothic. The house that was set in France. And so it's a house that's very French. Therefore we should have kniggets outside taunting you. Yes. Your mother smelled of elderberries and your father was a hamster. Yes. All of that sort of thing. I fart in your general direction. Well, we already got one. All right, enough of that silliness. But yes, and we're going to have French fries, and we're going to have French toast, and we're going to French kiss everybody. Yes, that's it. The tongues. All right, enough of that. We are in France, in Carrie Cathedral, where the gargoyle will protect the cathedral from the interloper. And it is there, in fact, the house Gothic is set. And the house Gothic was a beautiful little gemstone of a house, all pretty, lovely, sparkly. You go in the cathedral, and of course it's being refurbished. You know, and you know, if you've ever travelled through Europe in the past few years, you often find places just like that where they're refurbishing shit. I was in Florence in 2012. Just before I went, early in the year, because I won the trip in 2011 when on the spinning wheel I told you about. I spun a Wheel of Fortune when I bought my Nissan, and who knew Lady Luck would have a Wheel of Fortune later that year. I won a grand prize to Italy. Well, I went to Italy in the spring, actually. Was it April? April, I think it was, of 2012. And I went to Venice and I went to Florence. And in Florence, the very famous Duomo, the big cathedral in the middle of Florence, you know, all half of it was covered with scaffolding on one side because they're refurbishing it, and they've got pictures on the scaffolding so you know what it's supposed to look like underneath. Well, you can see most of the building, but part of it's being refurbished. And a lot of places in Europe, they're doing that because they're always trying to refurbish it and restore it, basically, because, you know, these structures have been up for hundreds and hundreds of freaking years, and the elements start to decay them, and so they have to go back and painstakingly preserve it this way so that it doesn't get ruined, so that future generations can also enjoy these various old cathedrals. And that's what's going on here. And they're doing such a job that, you know, they can't even hold services apparently. And so you go through at night when there's nobody around except the gargoyles, because they're active. They don't want anybody fucking around in that cathedral, and they're going to guard it with their supernatural power. So, but you go in, and one of the first things you see is, oh, my old friend, the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Sure enough, they made another cameo appearance, because Mike Aiello is a Whovian of no small order. And so, once again, Weeping Angels don't even blink. But you soon encountered all sorts of other gargoyles. Some with cat-like faces, some with bat-like appearances, popping up in different ways, some more lion-like. looking like statues coming to life as you go through the cathedral, and some of them appeared in outposts on stilts, and they're enormous, and some had great frickin' wings. Some of them were a lot. It was fantastic. There was always a new type of gargoyle around you, in all sorts of interesting ways. You go through corridors where there's outposts and all sorts of beautiful artifacts, different statuary and goblets and things and shrines, and then at the very end is what you think is just going to be an empty room, but a gargoyle appears. There's a room that's got like an organ and lots of candles on either side, and the gargoyle is up above you, and you don't expect him to be up there. But there he is, ooh, sort of floating in the air, creepy. And there's another flying gargoyle later on that's even more spectacular. And then you have a place where you look down and you can see down below you the actual sanctuary itself, and they use the mirror effect so that it looks like you're looking down 2 or 3 stories into the sanctuary of the cathedral. Holy crap. You get of course quite a bit distracted, and so you don't know that there's a gargoyle on the wall and another one in the ceiling ready to get you as you go through there. So it's like that. Oh, all just magnificent, and it's hard to describe them because it's basically gargoyles jumping out at you different ways, but there's so many different types and different styles, and it's just so beautiful in there. You have to go and find some pictures and look at it to really understand it, because some of them have horns and some of them have beaks and some of them have different types of wings. But the really neat special effect is you come out there and you're walking along what's like a balcony up on the turrets on the roof of the cathedral, and you're looking out into a night sky full of stars in these treetops up there from this battlement, from 2 parts of the scaffolding, and then suddenly through the sky itself is flying a gargoyle. It's like, holy crap, it's actually flying. Of course it's on a wire or something, or a rope, but it looks like it's flying, and it's like, it's like, whoa. It's also a distraction scare for the other one that's going to jump out at you down on at face level in just a second. There it is, see? That's how it works. Very good. Quite amazing. And then at the end they repeated a little bit of a gag they did in Forsaken. You see the long corridor off to the side, you think the gargoyle's at the end of it, but he's on a bungee, and so in just half a second, suddenly that gargoyle has gotten right up into your face, and then he's back again because he's on a bungee. It's like, whoa! And then you scan your card when you go out. That was Gothic. Beautiful. I don't think I've done it justice, but it is filled with all sorts of nifty scares and thrills, beautiful costumes, beautiful scenery, just magnificent little jewel of a house, which well deserved House of the Year. Alright, third house in the sound stages, and the third house overall. This was in Soundstage 22, the stage they use most often than any place else at Horror Nights. In fact, I think it's this year it'll be the record holder because there's no disaster queue to tie with it. So, it'll be the #1 location after this year. In Soundstage 22, where they wanted to put a werewolf, well, they couldn't. And so what they did instead was they got the rights to Silent Hill. In fact, I've heard different stories. Maybe it was a rights issue. They couldn't get the rights to werewolf. Contrary-wise, another scenario that's been posited is that when they got the rights to Silent Hill, they decided to rather do that instead of werewolf. But why would they want to drop a house? They're already down to 7, or they just couldn't find a place to put the other one? I don't know. So they decided to go with Silent Hill for whatever reason. And it wasn't just based on the video game, but on the films as well. It's based on both the video games and the films. There had been 2 Silent Hill films by this point, the original Silent Hill film and the film that had come out. In fact, I think it might even still have been around right about the time of Horror Nights, or as the home video, I don't remember exactly, but it was called Silent Hill Revelations or something like that. The sequel movie. And if you're not familiar with the video game, God help you. The plot is so freaking convoluted. Essentially, there are different protagonists in different films and movies that basically, the basic idea is that there's this, somehow they find themselves in a creepy little town called Silent Hill. Does it even really exist? Is it all in their minds? It's kind of left up in the air. They might be crazy. They might be serial killers themselves or something. There's all sorts of weird stuff like that going on. Reality may not be what you think it is. But there's this creepy little town called Silent Hill, and apparently something really awful has happened here. There's an actual town in Ohio, not Cary, or Pennsylvania, I'm not sure, one of those states, where coal mines and somehow the coal under the town is ignited and is on fire. And it's been on fire for decades. Everyone in the town had to get out because it was too dangerous to live there. So you have a town there, and most of the buildings are still there, but they're completely empty. You know, the buildings for not just homes, yes, but also businesses in the town, buildings in the middle, schools, banks, you know, shops, gymnasiums, churches, what have you. All in the town are all empty. No one lives there anymore. It's all empty, and there's cracks in the ground, and smoke keeps coming up, and eventually the whole place will burn down, but it takes forever for all the fire. It's just too dangerous to live. Once in a while something burns down, but for the most part it's just there with lots of smoke and mist everywhere, like covered with smoke and mist, because it's not fog, it's the smoke coming up from under the ground that creates this like foggy, smoggy cover, and it all is very eerie, like the whole town has been taken into hell. Remember Storybrooke in the recent season of Once Upon a Time? Probably also inspired. All covered with mist and the fires of hell, but it is the empty town. Or is it empty? The real place in Ohio or Pennsylvania, wherever it is, West Virginia, looks just like that, but no one lives there. There's an actual place like that. In Silent Hill is like that, except of course that there are evil, dark forces at work. And there's occasionally a human being here and there, but every so often something weird happens. It's as creepy as it is in the smog and the smoke and the darkness. Every so often you hear this noise. Like an air raid siren going off. What the fuck is that? And then all of a sudden everything gets darker. And everything changes. You can look at the walls, and the walls all start to crackle, and there's like fire and rust and decay on everything. Everything suddenly gets decayed and rusted and falling apart. And the whole reality shifts into something dark and really nasty. And that's when horrible things come lurching out to do all sorts of grievous bodily harm, not just to your flesh, but to your very soul. That's when you want to get the fuck out of Dodge, if you can, if you even can. And you need your flashlight with you at all times, because it's fucking hard to see. And your radio sometimes will start warning you by having static on it. And you better be well armed, because pterodactyls might come flying out of the air to attack you. The horrible dogs might come, all kinds of hideous creatures might show up to attack you. And those are the least of them. Because there are other things out there in the dark, horrible, awful, demonic things that are completely inexplicable. Entire legions of horrific nurses whose faces have been disfigured into a sort of just a twisted blank, you know, sort of like Slender Man has no face. But if Slender Man's no face had been put in the dirt and mud and smacked a few times, it became sort of lumpy and kind of awful. Well, what the hell, I've got a picture. So, yeah, you see what I mean. No face, well, sort of face, but the face is all melty and gross. But sexy bodies nevertheless. But not only sexy bodies and nasty face, but pointy objects to stab and stab at you if you happen to get too close. They seem to be blind, but they can hear you or smell you or something. And there are a whole bunch of them at once. So when you have to walk past them, and you make the slightest bit of noise, ooh, it could be a massacre. And then there's a big fluffy bunny. It's all pink and pretty, like a fluffy bunny. I think his name is it Robert the Rabbit or something like that? I forget. And he's associated with a certain amusement park somewhere. And the fluffy bunny is kind of sinister just by itself. Not really a scary monster, but occasionally it seems to be alive. Is it just a toy here? Is it a man plush figure? Is it a man in a suit? Or is it an actual giant rabbit? But worse of all, there's an entity, like a tall, thin man, not wearing any shirt, wiry but muscular, wearing a great big apron, like sort of, or maybe it's like a giant skirt, I'm not sure, seemingly made of some thick material, and he sort of lurches forward, dragging the biggest ass knife you've ever seen. It's not even a sword, it's a knife. It's called the Great Knife, and he seems to be dragging it along behind him. And it's as big as a freaking spear, but it's a gigantic knife is what it is, really. And he's got, instead of a normal head, he's got maybe a helmet on his head, or maybe it is his head. That's the worst of all, that maybe that thing is his head. And it's this gigantic, oversized, basically, not a trapezoid, but pyramidal shape, okay, 1, 2, 3-sided, pointy, and it's extended really far in the front like a beak or something, and it's kind of reddish, rusted metal. In the original Japanese games, he was called the Red Pyramid, but he's been given the name Pyramid Head, okay. So this sort of thing comes staggering out at you various times in the game with this enormous knife that you will use to kill things with, because even though it's way oversized, you can use it very easily to cut, stab, and slash through all of the walls and scenery around you. So don't even want to be near him when he's brandishing that fucker, because just hiding behind a door isn't going to save you. And what's worse of all, I'm talking about the video games now, right? Worst of all is he's a rapist of the worst order. He's like a duck or something. Ducks are rapists, by the way. A male duck will rape any other duck, male or female, alive or dead. They really are bastards, web-footed bastards. I know I've destroyed all your dreams, because you think, oh, cute little ducky wucky. They're horrible, 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 violent little bastards. But Pyramid Head is worse. He will rape these nurses. He will rape dead people. It's really disgusting and kind of creepy and obscene. So he goes around raping people and animals and things. So be aware of that. And you can't kill it. Guns, knives, whatever. It doesn't die. So the best thing to do when Pyramid shows up in the game is just run like mad in the opposite direction and hope you don't run into something worse. It's just that awful. Okay? So you've got a really fucked up game to begin with. There have been several of them over the years. From the original PlayStation game, I think it was, Silent Hill, all the way up to the various versions. I haven't kept up. I haven't played video games in a while. But it's insane games. And they've made 2 different movies which incorporate, and they kind of made Pyramid Head a little more muscular and less thin. Although he never was, he was thin, but he still had some muscle. It was scrawny, lean muscle. Now he got like he's on roids or something, and he didn't actually rape anyone very obviously in the movies. And they had a whole plot line about, and there is a plot line in the games about an evil cult and this one little girl who has something to do with it all. It's a very convoluted plot. It's almost impossible to understand, and I don't really give a shit because it's not that important. It's scary ass shit is what you're interested in. And but part of that is in the house because it's from the movies, and how the girl is possessed by this other form of herself that is evil. I don't really remember. It's a load of crap. But she's this creepy long black-haired girl that shows up in the house a couple times, but only as a mannequin. So all of that's in the house, sort of. So in the house, you have the scene where you enter Silent Hill, and there's the sign saying, "Welcome to Silent Hill." And oh God, put a photo op in a haunted house for Christ's sake. Every time someone would get in front of that sign and have take a selfie, or have their friends take their picture right there in the facade area of the house, over and over again. Ops couldn't stop them. Everyone wanted a picture there with its, It wouldn't go take an RIP tour, not an RIP, Unmasking the Magic tour. No, they want to be right in there getting their picture taken with the sign. And it just happened every damn night. And then you go along that sort of little hilltop where you go through and the sirens go off and there's some chain link fences and those creepy little things. I don't know the names of all the creatures. Little white-headed, one big hole in the face and smoke comes out of their mouth. One of them, you know, and this fog is filling the room from one of those things. And this fog, but there's others behind the chain link fences attacking you as the sirens go off, and you enter the town of Silent Hill, going into one of the buildings, possibly the school. There's a bed, lots of barbed wire, a body on it, which is also a scene in one of the games. But then you find yourself in the creepy school and all of the lockers, the locker rooms, and even worse, the restrooms. But we'll get to the school restrooms where some really creepy shit goes down in the video games, and it's in the house too. And otherwise, you walk past the lockers, they do some air blowing vents at you. See what? It should always makes you jump. But we'll have to continue. Welcome to Silent Hill. The name of the house, Welcome to Silent Hill, by the way. Not just Silent Hill. Welcome to Silent Hill. Continue the house in the next video, which I think will be part 6. Or is this part 6? Holy crap, I don't remember. Whatever the next one is, that's where I'll continue Silent Hill. Till then,